Round.
Big step, big step.
Congratulations to me.
Yes, yes. The blurring is very key. All right. We wait for Commissioner Faulkner. Okay, great. It's 7:01 on May 5th. We can call the ANC 1C meeting to order. Let's introduce the commissioners going around the neighborhood, starting at 1C01, please.
Hi, I'm Howard Bollicky, the commissioner for ANC 1C01, which is the far southwest corner of Adams Morgan, includes the Hilton, where we hosted the White House Communications Association Super Spreader event last weekend. So glad to be here.
Okay, 1C02 is vacant. 1C03, please.
Hi, Peter Wood. Thanks to everyone who's chosen to attend this meeting and not the mayoral debate. 1C03, 18th and 19th, Built March, Wyoming, right in the middle.
Hi. Oh, sorry. Hi, Megan Faulkner, 1C04, northwest corner of Adams Morgan, around Walter Pierce Park.
Great.
I'm Commissioner Felsenthal, 1C05, Upper Linear Heights, bordered by Harvard and Columbia Road.
Hello, I'm Ben Boots, 1C06, eastern edge of the district. The southern street being Colorama, and then up into the Lanier.
Jake Falaschini, 1C07, the liquor license capital of Adams Morgan.
Great. My name is Fiona Clem. I serve 1C08. Okay, so we will now approve the agenda. Are there any additions to the agenda?
I have one. So I've circulated a bit. It's been slightly modified, so we can discuss that if we get it on, but ended up being relatively timely. Let me get the official title for it. ANC resolution regarding the District of Columbia's role as a safe haven for reproductive health services. Like I said, there have been some minor modifications because I've sought some additional input as well as input of a lot of commissioners. Thank you so much. Love to discuss it. I think there's an argument for making sense to vote on tonight, but I'd like to discuss that further. So I'd move to add this to tonight's agenda. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, resolution to the agenda, please say aye.
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 That passes. We'll add it to the end of the regular agenda. Okay, great. Officers' reports.
Sorry, I did have one other modification to the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
And that's to drop the Musette discussion from the agenda as it's no longer relevant.
Okay, thank you.
I will second that.
Yeah, okay. And then all those in favor of dropping the Musette discussion from the ABC and Public Safety Committee area of the agenda, please say aye.
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 All right, great.
Would anyone want me to just, as a point of information, to just explain that a little bit more, or do we feel comfortable moving on?
Please, Commissioner. Yeah, go ahead and explain that. That's great. Yes, please.
Great, thank you. So as a point of information, that was on the agenda because we were concerned about trash pileup in the back of the property. Commissioner Wood was kind enough to reach out to the restaurant that put us in touch with the building owners, and it turns out that it is actually an issue with the building owners and not the restaurant itself. So we were working with the building owners to figure out the trash situation there. That leads to rat infestations around that area. And we'll try to deal with that separately from the liquor license, but we don't want to punish Musette for the decisions of the building owner and building manager at that location.
Okay, great. Are there any other discussions or questions about that?
I'll just add, because I was communicating, because that was great. They're open relatively few nights and don't actually contribute that much trash. And it's not a new issue, so they're kind of struggling to think of ways. So if anyone has ideas, please approach them and let them know.
Okay, great. All right, thanks. And we voted on striking that from the ABC and Public Safety Committee area of the agenda. So any other additions or deletions from the agenda?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to take the review of the season seller grant application as well.
Okay, I'll second that. Before voting on that, Commissioner Boots, could you just, do you want to share a little bit of information
Sure.
about that grant?
So that season settlers is still working on us. There are some concerns that are brought up by the AG's office and an opinion we received. So we're just kind of working through that. So hopefully we'll get it in the future. Not discussed at the PSC committee for that reason.
Okay, great. Any other questions about that item being struck from the agenda? Okay, so we'll all those in favor of striking the review of season settlers grant application from the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Okay, great. And so with those additions and deletions, we will now vote to approve the new agenda. All those in favor of the new agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that any abstentions or nays? All right. With that, we will move on to the next item of our agenda, which is the officers' report. The chair report is just that ANC 1C still has a vacancy in 1C02. It was there was nobody who put in a petition for 1C02, so the Board of Elections has reissued that vacancy. So anybody who would like to run for 1C02, the vacancy is open once again. And I can put the address to the Board of Elections in the chat. So with that, Secretary's report, please, Commissioner Falskini.
My only report is that this is liquor license renewal season, as we've discussed. And due to some technical issues that were happening with ABRA, they've extended the deadline to file for those liquor license renewals to the end of May. So just so restaurants are aware, because of some technical difficulties, they have extended that deadline to the end of May.
Thank you.
And that's it.
Okay, great. The treasurer's report, Commissioner Faulkner.
Yes, so our current bank account balance is $3,031.12. The only significant expenditure over the last month was our payment to Gordon Chafin for his AV services. And we don't have any other significant outstanding checks that we expect to issue. And I will just note that we're continuing to work with the Office of ANCs on some of our past quarterly financial reports and some grant documentation. So that is where we expect hopefully soon to have more allotments coming, but that is all I have for an update.
Thank you, Treasurer Faulkner. All right, so moving on to Commissioner announcements, we'll go around the neighborhood once again, starting with 1C01. Commissioner Balaki, do you have any announcements?
Thanks.
Also,
Thanks
I'm sorry, Commissioner Balaki. I just wanted to say for the chairs of committees, if they could please announce their committee agendas and times and days, please. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks. I just have one thing to mention, and I just wanted to sort of flag this for anybody who's listening, and also my neighbors to the north in districts 3 and 4. We're in the middle of this small diameter water main replacement project here in the southwest part of Adams Morgan, this 12-inch line they're replacing. And it was supposed to run from mid-March through the end of August. And we're up in after 8 weeks, it looks like they may have one block done, Wyoming Street. And I have no idea which block is coming next, but just wanted to flag this for folks. We're talking about California, Calorama, Belmont, Columbia, north and east of 19th, including the intersection at 18th and Columbia. I mean, they're not closing down the street completely, but it does significantly affect traffic patterns when they've got a lot of people out there working and they've got stuff stored on the streets overnight and so forth. So just wanted to let folks know that may be coming to you soon. And I didn't mention this to Kristen at the bid call this afternoon about the pedestrian zone project, but I was sort of wondering if that is a potential little issue there that we need to keep an eye on, because this thing does seem to be running behind schedule. And with that, I'll turn it back to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Balke. Commissioner Wood.
Thanks. What's today's date? Yeah, so May 11th, next Wednesday, the Alcohol Beverage Control Committee and Public Safety Committee will meet 7 p.m. virtually, as always. As Commissioner Falaskini mentioned, license period got extended to May 31st. We've been dealing with it. It's been a pretty, knock on wood, pretty nice period so far. I mean, we haven't gotten too many complaints, and the businesses that we've engaged with have been pretty accommodating. So that's good. Hopefully it continues, out of our hands partially. As far as 1C03 matters go, just obviously a lot of activity always. I'll focus on a couple. Calorama Park, there's been a lot of volunteers, myself included, who have been working quite a bit on maintaining the garden spaces, and it's growing. So if you see people working, thank them. Some people, including people that don't even live in the neighborhood, who just love the park, have put in a lot of hours to make it look really good. Got also a DC flag for the flagpole, so that was really welcome. And then there's some water issues, but I think mostly, communication with the people who are using the water for the gardens. So that's not a super widespread issue. On top of that, let's see, I think that is the majority of it. There's a lot of testimony opportunities this past month for DC budget season. It's mostly over. Thanks to everyone who contributed the thoughts on that. Similarly, but separately, the redistricting process, not 1C3 related, but just because I was on the task force as a community resident. That's also closing to where the council will vote on it. I don't think that they've taken any definitive action yet, but the two public testimony meetings, which were I think April 7th and 21st or 28th, those have concluded. There's probably still opportunity to send in written testimony. I don't remember the specifics for it, but a lot of people have also chimed in on that. It's been helpful. I've learned a lot. I think that's the bridge version, so I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Commissioner Faulkner.
Hi, thank you. So for this month's Planning, Zoning, and Transportation Committee meeting, which is 2 weeks from today at 7 p.m., we will be hearing from the Adams Morgan bid with a presentation about a proposed pedestrian zone for the summer. That is not yet on our publicly posted agenda because I just got an email a little while ago, but we are adding it to the agenda. So that is the only current item. I don't have any other big announcements, but just to note that there has been some crosswalk restriping in at least 1C04, maybe in other areas around the neighborhood that has been a long time coming. So that is exciting. And hopefully, if you see crosswalks that need restriping, put in a 311 request. I will say one that I know I requested almost a year ago just got painted. So it takes time, but they will do it if you see crosswalks that are faded or if there was paving and not repainted. And that is all for me.
Thank you. Commissioner Felsenthal.
Hey, so yeah, 1C05. So I'm expecting that the contraflow bike lanes will be probably installed sometime in the first half of this month, as from what I've last heard from DDOT, although I don't have an actual installation date. It should only take one day though, so the actual impact on residents during that time should be minimal. And no parking will be removed as part of this process, just to reiterate that. Other than that, unfortunately, last week, there were some gunshots. Sorry. Unfortunately, last week, there were some gunshots that happened on Columbia Road between my district and I think Commissioner Boots's district. And I talked to the lieutenant about it. There was no property damage. There was no injury known to anybody, but it is worrisome. So I'll certainly provide any updates if I hear any more about it. But yeah, just wanted to let you know about that. Other than that, no further updates.
Thank you. Commissioner Wood, you have your hand up. Can we wait? Oh,
Yeah, I just forgot one point.
okay.
Saturday the 14th, clean up Marie Reed, 10 a.m. tennis courts. Please be there. Thanks.
All right, Commissioner Boots.
Hello. Not too much for my single member district. I would just note that the painting looks almost done on 16th Street. The new bus lanes are in and looks really great. It looks like last time I walked by that there's just a few more crosswalks that need to be fully painted, although they're sketched out. So I think we're gonna be in good shape with that, and looking forward to seeing how those bus lanes work. The other two announcements I have are just one, the Public Service and Environment Committee. We do have a meeting scheduled for May 25th right now. There's nothing on the agenda at this moment, but please check back as we get a little closer. We might have a few things to be added there. And then also, if anyone is interested in the AV position, that we're still looking and accepting any calls for proposals for that, or proposals for that call for proposals. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
Thank you. Commissioner Falaskini.
Thank you. It's been a busy month, a lot going on in the district. Starting down kind of on the south end of the district or of the SMD, PEPCO is still doing their work along Florida and B Street leading out from Florida to 16th. So there is still disruption for residents there. Please do reach out to me or Fiona. It borders both of our SMDs if you have any sort of issues with it and need any help. There was a really wonderful community cleanup event at Marie Reed Elementary School and also the soccer field that was organized by some of the parents with the PTO. Lots of families came, lots of folks were cleaning up, gathered tons of trash. It was really pretty great. So thanks to everybody that came out to do that and take care of the neighborhood. We have speed bumps that are going to be coming in along Champlain Street, 2300 block, 2400 block. I've also requested a couple of looks into speeding and further traffic calming measures along Calorama and further up Champlain and around that janky corner of Calorama and Champlain. And I met with a couple of folks who helped organize a big soccer tournament up in Columbia Heights earlier this year that was very successful. They want to bring that to Marie Reed Soccer Field this summer and to offer a big cash prize. They're working with some of our local businesses. I put them in touch with the bid. Sorry, y'all, but they need support. So we're hoping that will take place at Marie Reed this summer. And then other than that, just, and also the lights at the Marie Reed basketball courts. We know that they're staying on all night. We're doing our best to deal with it. There's a technical problem that's happening right now with who is in charge of that. It used to be the school. Now they're saying it's DGS. I'm working with Councilmember Nadeau to figure out who's actually in charge to make it more local and to make sure that we can actually get them turned off if they're left on at night in a really timely manner so that it doesn't create light pollution for all the residents who live right there. So I think those are some of the big things, and thanks to everyone.
Thank you, Commissioner. I don't have any updates from 1C08. Mentioned of them were covered. I'm loving the new bus lanes. I got to ride on a bus this morning on the bus lane, flew down 16th Street. It was really beautiful. With that, we're going to move on to the next item on our agenda, which is Inez Sakite, who is from DCRA, and she is getting promoted right now, and she will give a presentation on DCRA.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we can.
Okay, I would like to, I guess I'll share my screen with the PowerPoint I have.
Yes, you can do that. Absolutely.
Okay, so that's what I'm going to do because I wasn't sure how this would work.
Yeah, or feel free to email it, but let's try it this way first.
Okay. Wait, let me see. Downloads. Okay. Okay, let's see if I can share my screen. Okay. Got a lot of stuff going on here. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Okay, my name is Inez Sakite. I'm with the Department of Consumer and Regulatory Affairs. Some of you may have met me in person prior to COVID. However, since COVID, I know that some people are new to this commission, and since COVID, we haven't met in person. So I guess this will be my first meeting with you guys in a while.
Yes, welcome. Thanks.
Thank you for having me. And so I just want to go over, I'm going to skip over some numbers in terms of vital stats. But I will mention that DCRA has roughly 475 employees. And what does DCRA do? We're buildings in DC. Essentially, we issue permits. We issue building permits, solar permits, certificate of occupancies, and home occupation permits. We conduct plan reviews. We review building plans to make sure they comply with construction codes, including the Green Building Act. We maintain DC's official land plats and record building plat drawings, subdivisions, street and alley closings, dedication surveys, wall checks, deed analysis, and condominium plats and records. DCRA houses a homeowner center. So if you're a private homeowner, you can come to DCRA and get assistance with whatever homeowner project you're working on at that time. And we also house the zoning administrator, not the Office of Zoning, but the Office of the Zoning Administrator, who enforces the rules set by the Office of Zoning. We review land and building plans to make sure they comply with zoning regulations. We issue basic business licenses, and we renew every 2 or 4 years, depending on the type of license you have. We also monitor corporations, partnerships, trade name registration, corporate reports, and revocations. So if there is a severe enough need, we will revoke someone's business license. We're also the place for occupational professional licensing. So if you're a realtor, a design professional, if you're a mortician or a beautician, you would come to us for your licensure. Accountants as well. I just named a few, but we do a lot of different professions. We issue permits for special events in conjunction with DDOT. So we work parallel with DDOT on certain special events. And we also house a small business center where you can get one-on-one attention if you're trying to open a business or you need assistance walking through the process of establishing your own business. We also have a consumer protection unit, and our consumer protection unit investigates businesses or complaints of businesses in that they're not acting in a manner in which they should. We also have a weights and measures department. We protect consumers by inspecting commercial weight and measures devices, including gas pumps, UPC scanners, and scales from dialysis office, or grocery stores. So essentially, when you buy food in this way, we make sure that the scales are calibrated to the actual amount that it is. So if it's 75 cents per pound, we make sure that the scale is actually set for that. We inspect construction, renovation, and maintenance projects and respond to complaints and tips about substandard, illegal, dangerous construction conditions. And we also approve corrections and issue corrections. We also conduct housing inspections, and we respond to illegal construction complaints. When it comes to vacant buildings, we classify and register vacant and blighted properties to incentivize owners to return the property to a productive use. So DCRA is not, I say this a lot, we're not in the business of providing undue stress to residents, but we do promote enforcement through behavioral change, meaning that we are interested in bringing people into compliance. When property owners fail to fix their housing or building code renovations after being cited, DCRA will assess fines and in emergency life-threatening circumstances, make repairs to the property. Our abatement team also cuts grass and removes trash from certain properties and secures openings for nuisance properties. So essentially, if it is a severe problem, we will do it and find the owner, but that is a due process situation, and I can elaborate on that more if you have questions about that. And we also house the Board of Condemnation in the sanitary buildings, and they meet, I think, quarterly or monthly. And if there's a building that is of concern that you feel may need to come down or be demolished, then the Board of Condemnation will discuss it during their meeting. They will send an inspector. The inspector will inspect it. If the building is deemed to be beyond repair, then a determination will be made as to whether the building will be condemned. As you know, we have Access DC. Once you sign up for an Access DC account, it provides entree into a number of our programs, such as Scout, where you can look up properties online. We also house the Residential Inspector Program, and essentially the residential inspectors support the FTEs in their work to address certain issues or to issue citations in situations where FTEs are unable to do so or unavailable. But please note that the resident inspectors have limited authority. They do not have the full authority as a regular full-time inspector. We also have the landlord violations tool. Using the tool, prospective tenants can look up apartments before they move in to see what their landlords are up to, what their proposed or prospective landlords are into. We also have a contractor rating system. Contractor rating system is done on an algorithm, so we do not set the guidelines for that system, and the system will determine, based upon DCRA's work with the contractor, the algorithm will determine where they stand on a 1 to 5 scale, meaning that if you hire someone to do work for you and every time they come to DCRA, there's a revision beyond 3 revisions, then that person or that organization might not score as high as another organization that is more accurate in the information in their timeliness and in the plans they submit. We also have the permit wizard. The permit wizard, can you see the permit wizard slide?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Right there.
So, all right. So the permit wizard allows you to apply for permits online, but you need the full information, such as how much the project is going to cost, what exactly you're going to do, if it requires plans, things of that nature. And once you put in your information in the permit wizard will either give you a permit or it will tell you that you have to revisit your project in some sort of way. But you will not get a permit unless you complete everything that is requested by the permit wizard online. And the default is to actually come into the office or have permitting walk you through the process. How can I contact DCRA? DCRA's customer relationship contact management system, I'll KRM right now, but CRM, routes your inquiry to the appropriate appointee, to appropriate employee. Ideally, we have 3 business days to resolve a conflict. And resolve doesn't mean necessarily completely fix or have it done. Resolve means that we've come to a middle ground or a situation where we're moving in a direction of due process, or we're moving close to actually solving the problem. Sometimes it does mean solve, but resolve is not necessarily a term that we identify as completely solving an issue. And then we have, once we identify a resolution for your issue, we send a survey out. And then we have the customer inquiry dashboard. And you have your account managers, and I am your Ward 1, and I am the Ward 4 account manager here at DCRA. Hello?
Yes, thanks, Inez. I wasn't sure if you were finished. It looked like you were finished. I just wasn't sure. Thank you so
I
much.
hope it wasn't too long. I hope it wasn't.
No,
too
it was
long.
great. It was good information. I really appreciate that. I wanted to ask about you being the Ward 1 rep. Is this the type of thing where people in Ward 1 can reach out to you directly, or are they supposed to call 311 first, or can you share your contact information?
I can definitely drop my signature in the chat box. Anybody who needs assistance can call me. Normally, account managers address escalated issues that come in from the community or through commissioners such as yourself or through the council's office or other means.
Okay, because also that's very helpful. I was working with some neighbors on a construction site that was had a lot of permits, and a lot of the permits were conflicting, and the neighbors wanted to know more about it. And I actually met the resident inspector for Ward 1. But it's the type of thing where I could reach out to you first also to discuss what the
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Great.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you, fellow commissioners. It looks like Commissioner Faulkner has a question.
Yes, thank you. So I have a long vacant building in my district at 2920 Ontario, and I have had DCRI has come out and inspected it multiple times since last summer. I put in requests regularly. I've gotten information that there's been a notice of infraction. It's on the blighted list. So I'm curious about sort of the process for escalation and bringing the owner into compliance. It's a large building that is deteriorating. Last summer, things blew off the roof onto the neighboring building, and was very, very scary for neighbors. And so I guess I would love to know about the process for frankly condemning or for anything else to be more incentive to this owner, since it's really just a hazard, and there's many issues with it.
Okay, I'm very familiar with 2920 Ontario Road. At this point, there has to be due process with that building. I believe that there was a vacant notification served to the respondent or the owner in March. And so what happens is when we open an RVP case, a vacant notification response, they have to fill out the vacant notification response form. And if they fill out the form and they abate the issue, then we completely have to back off, right? But if the property is found vacant and it enters class 4 blight, then the property can end up in tax sale. If the property ends up in tax sale, then someone will either purchase in a tax sale, but if the property is not stable, then an inspector will come out and inspect the property, and that property will be considered for the Board of Sanitary Buildings and Condemnation. So I would say if you're interested in recommending that building for the Board of Sanitation and Sanitary Buildings, then please send me an email. But there is no guarantee that the building or the property will be demolished.
Thanks. I guess just one follow-up question, which is, as far as I knew, the building had previously been marked as blighted, like last year, and it had also gone to tax sale several years ago, but he paid off the tax lien. And so I guess I'm curious about why they just got a notice of vacancy. Is that something you have to renew? Because it's definitely been vacant for years, and it was blighted. It was marked as blighted at least a year ago, because I've been following it the whole time. And I'm not surprised you're very familiar with this. So I'm just curious about that, why they were just.
Okay, so this is what happens. A building could go up for tax sale, but the owner, even if the building is sold at tax sale, the owner has until 6 months to reclaim their property. And what we find with a lot of these vacant buildings is that they'll get a blight designation or they'll go up for tax sale, and people will pay for their property. And once people pay for their property, then there isn't anything we can do about it, because we can't stop someone from reclaiming their property. And another thing too is that when property is under construction, they can receive tax exemptions. So a tax exemption under construction would mean that you won't be paying the vacant rate while the property is under construction. Commissioner?
Yes.
Commissioner Faulkner?
Yes.
I hope I brought clarity to your inquiry.
Yeah, I think I'm still curious about the blighted tax, but I can look into this and send you an email, and thank you for all the information. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. So but the thing is, if they pay their bill, there is nothing we can do about it.
Yes, I understand. It's just, I understand. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Commissioner Falaskini.
I just wanted to say thank you for the times when I've reached out, and you've been really responsive and have helped with construction projects in the SMD. And also, I know that there's a building co-op on Champlain Street right now where DCRA is doing in inspections with the mayor's office. And I just wanted to say thanks for all your work and for being so responsive whenever I've reached out and asked for help.
Oh, thank you very much. I just spoke to Anthony today about that property, in fact.
It's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, great. Are there any questions from participants for Inez? I see a hand up from Goddess Mac, but is that directly for DCRA and Inez Mac? Okay. Inez, I really appreciate your time today. The information was fantastic, and thank you for coming to our meeting.
Okay, so I guess no one else has questions. I
It
will
doesn't-
be.
Yes, it doesn't look like that.
Hello?
It doesn't look like anybody else has questions. Your
Okay,
presentation was
okay.
great, and I appreciate your
Okay.
time.
Okay, cool beans. So I'll drop my contact information in the chat, and anybody wishing to reach out to me may do so.
Thank you so much.
Okay, you have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
The next up on our agenda is Ryan O'Leary, who I saw in attendance.
Yep, he's coming up.
Thank you, Gordon. Ryan O'Leary is the chairman of DC Committee to Build a Better Restaurant Industry, and he is the proposer of Initiative 82. Welcome, Ryan.
Thank you, Ms. Clem. Thank you, ANC 1C, for having me. I'm happy to be here. My name is Ryan O'Leary. I'm the proposer of Initiative 82, longtime DC resident, longtime local tipped worker. Was a tipped worker all the way up until the beginning of the pandemic. Initiative 82, if you guys are also longtime DC residents, you are probably familiar with. It's almost identical to Initiative 77 that was voted on and overwhelmingly approved by the DC voting population in 2018. What this initiative would do is it would, over the course of 5 years, incrementally increase the tipped minimum wage. So it is at full parity with the full minimum wage. Right now, tipped workers in DC and across the country are paid a sub minimum wage. In DC, it's around $5.20 an hour. In places like Virginia, it's as low as $2.30 an hour. And so after 5 years, it would be $2 per year incrementally, with the last year being $2 plus whatever difference has grown due to the way that the minimum wage in DC is set up to automatically increase each year with the cost of living. I am coming to you a bit prematurely because when I asked if I could be present here today, we were assuming that this would be on the primary ballot. This has been moved to the general election, so I apologize, but I will probably request in the fall to come and speak to you all again. But I'm really here to answer any questions that you commissioners may have or that the public may have about what this will do, or just what questions you have about it. One thing I will say is that this already exists in 7 states, including California, where the minimum wage is $15. In all of these states, tip averages are actually higher compared to states with the sub-minimum wage. So I know a big argument by the industry last time was that tips were going to disappear. That's not the case, nor do I expect it will be. I have never encountered a customer in my years of service that has asked me how much I make before they tip me. I don't think people in DC tip double when they go to Virginia because they make half as much money per hour as we do in DC. Not only that, the restaurant industry in these 7 states actually fared better through COVID than in states with a sub-minimum wage. And in the industry with the highest rate of sexual harassment in America, that rate is cut in half in states with a full minimum wage. So this really does benefit the worker on so many different fronts and also the restaurant. And I'm really excited to finally have this become the law of the land in our great nation's capital. And so, yeah, I'd love to open it up to any questions.
Thank you, Ryan. I have a question. This is specifically for front of the house, correct? Because I thought Initiative 77 also included the kitchen staff, generally speaking, or the staff not on the front of the house floor. Is that correct?
Yes. So currently the only tipped staff at most restaurants are front of house. And I know as customers, you usually consider that to be bartenders and servers, but that also includes food runners, bussers, and barbacks, which are often also paid a sub-minimum wage and rely on a portion of the tips from the servers and bartenders who tend to directly accept them from the customer. I will say that in most restaurants I've worked in, that actually is a portion of the sales of that waiter or bartender. And so that means that you aren't tipped on a $200 check and you're expecting a $40 tip, and you get nothing. You usually have to take anywhere from $10 to $20 out of your own pocket to then, tip out the workers who have helped you do your job. One thing I will say is I have worked in Minnesota for a short amount of time at a restaurant in Minneapolis, which also does not have a sub-minimum wage. And so the back of house was actually allowed to pool tips with us because we were all fully, paid the full minimum wage. I mean, I imagine that some restaurants will experiment with that. I can tell you that it was a great experience. I think everyone cared a lot more into what went into the customer's experience. I mean, the server does the server or the bartender is usually the reasoning when people are tipping based on level of service as to what tip you're going to give, when in fact a lot of that could be because the food wasn't good or wasn't presented very well, or the drinks were bad, and things completely outside of the server's ability to decide. So I imagine that some restaurants will consider that. I imagine others will simply raise the rate of pay for back of house as well, so it still maintains a lucrative option compared to working front of house.
Thank you very much for that information. Commissioner Falaschini?
Thank you. I was just going to ask, are there actually any differences in the language of this initiative and the past initiative?
Not that I'm aware of. We did model it pretty much to be as closely identical as possible. I know one of the biggest differences was that just to simply combat the misinformation of last time, after every section in which it gets raised by $2, we add with tips on top at the end of it, just to make that completely clear to the public. But otherwise, no, it's still on a 5-year trajectory. And this will also fix a problem because, the minimum wage in DC, it's so great that it raises every year with the cost of living and with inflation. But the fact of the matter is that because it's based on a percentage, the sub-minimum and the minimum wage are going to diverge further and further year after year in DC because of that. And so this will, of course, also fix that problem, which is a good thing.
It's great. Thank you very much, Ryan.
Oh, thank you.
Any other questions from commissioners? All right, we can turn to our attendees. I think Gordon has a question for Ryan.
Yeah, thank you. Ryan, I'm curious how this affects people who are, I guess, having more business nowadays, which is people who would deliver to-go orders or otherwise like handle that COVID era interaction with customers.
So are you saying how the rest, sorry, could you say that again or
Yeah, I guess.
So,
let's say you're a restaurant, you have, your to-go business has expanded since COVID. And so now you employ people who, before might have worked as servers and received tips. Now they work primarily just going from the kitchen to deliver wherever their deliveries are. I guess in this, if this were to pass, are they covered by the existing normal minimum wage? Are they tipped workers because sometimes they can receive tips? I guess I'm not sure what to think about that.
Yeah, I mean, in all cases, it's up to the discretion. I think you're talking about like in-house delivery services, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So I do know that in the past, pre-Uber Eats and all these, Grubhub, restaurants that usually offered this were likely to be carry-out restaurants. And yes, a lot of the times their delivery drivers were paid a tip minimum wage because it was expected. I'm not sure if that was always the case. Again, a lot of people, like especially bussers and food runners, because tip out may not just bring them to the full minimum wage, which is required to from their servers. They're often paid something like $8 an hour or something kind of, higher than the this is only in America, minimum sub-minimum wage. They're still paid a sub-minimum wage, but a little bit higher than the absolute minimum. So this is not just restaurant specific. This affects any kind of place where anybody is tipped and is able to be paid the tip minimum wage. That includes hair salons and nail techs, where it's not a rent out your seat or your booth situation, but you're actually an employee of the institution itself. This affects valets. This affects really any kind of tipped industry outside of currently the gig economy industry, because they're not considered employees. But what I will say is that once this is put into law, once the sub-minimum wage is eliminated in DC, the moment that we eventually get to the point of mandating that places like Uber Eats actually designate their drivers as employees, they'll immediately be paid the full minimum wage by Uber and Grubhub and these companies, as opposed to a sub-minimum wage and still having to rely on the tips of customers.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the commissioners or attendees for Ryan O'Leary? So thank you so much for your time, Ryan. Really. Commissioner Falaschini.
Just want to say thanks so much for your work on this. And it's so important that everyone in our district, everyone in our city gets paid a living wage, something that they can survive on. And your advocacy is greatly appreciated.
I really appreciate that. And I really do appreciate your hospitality. I know you have very large commercial districts in your ANCs, as well as definitely more like wealthy districts. And so I do love to see the kind of hospitality that you've offered me. And I am looking forward to coming back closer to the end of election season and speaking with y'all again. Thank you again for having me.
Thank you, Ryan. And yes, we'll be in touch about getting on talking more before elections in November.
I got to go catch the end of the debate now, though.
All right. Thanks for your time. Okay. Moving along, public announcements, 2 minutes per person. Is there anybody who would like Nancy Lyons?
Hi, how's everyone doing this evening?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Good, and yourself. Thank you for allowing me to briefly just let you know that I'm Nancy Lyons, and I am the Public Information Officer for the Department of Public Works. I also manage our public mural program called Murals DC, and we've received 2 requests for a possible mural in your neighborhood. One is at 1831 Belmont Street, and then the other one is for 1864 Columbia Road. They're both basically sort of sitting right near each other. I was trying to, let's see, I might be able to share my screen so you can see what I'm talking about. Maybe not.
You should be able to.
Oh, wait, I see. All right. I'm so used to, we use Teams here in DC government, so. Okay, so you can see this area here. Actually, better to just use. All right, all right, so yes, so you can see the, can you see the image?
We can see it inside your email inbox. You'll have to switch windows or something if you're looking at a different place.
Okay. I think, is that the right one now? Is that showing? I think that should be showing it on. All right.
Word, yeah.
Okay. So these are the areas here. So the first request was from 1831 Belmont Road, the property owners there, and they were looking at having a mural on this wall, which is up against the bike sharing space. And then streeteries, what's the market? Is it streets market? What I told them, actually, I'm sorry. This is 1831 Belmont Road. And so in order for us to paint this mural, we were going to have to get the permission from Streets Market to stand on their roof. And so they actually expressed an interest in a mural too. So if we were going to do this mural, we'd probably do both of them and do something with a similar theme. And so I just wanted people to know that if they were interested, just for residents to know that typically what happens is we work with our artists are applying now for this year for Murals DC. And typically we'll work with the artists, maybe give them some information about the community, some history, things like that they might want to include in their design. And so I just wanted residents to know that one, this might be a possible mural in their neighborhood. And two, if they had any information about history or things that they wanted the artists to be aware of, that they could do that. They could send me that information. I'll actually, I just added some information to the chat. They can send an email to me directly at murals.dc@dc.gov or nancy.lyons@dc.gov, and that's Nancy spelled Nancee. And they can also go to muralsdcproject.com for more information.
Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Wood?
So first, hi, Nancy. Just want to say thanks. We've been in touch with this project. I think I was the one who pushed or suggested the people in the building contacted you. So that I do have one question. So I've been talking to constituents in the 1831 a bit about this. They originally came to me asking, how do we keep people from doing graffiti on our building? And they kind of came to this conclusion with me. I have had, according to them, every single unit owner in the building, except for one who I've spoken with the dissenting voice, and a few of the other people, is in favor of this. I do have a question. Do you have any experience, because it's a condominium building, so it's collective ownership. Is there any kind of looking out to how this might go? Their plan is to basically have a vote among their board, and the way that is kind of internally organized within the ownership of the different units. Like I said, exactly one person, as far as I know, is not on the same page as everyone in terms of how they want to go forward. Is there anything I should look out for in terms of alerting them for just kind of procedurally how that process goes between Murals DC and a building that is owned by multiple people?
Well, in the past, what I've done is I've met with the people in the building or the condo association to sort of go over the process and to get people's input. It seems to help a little bit more if people have a little bit more input into what's being painted. And then, I also have information that I would leave with them that would give them information about the process. We don't typically get started until the summer, but property owners do have the ability to look at up to two sketches by the artist. So they do have an opportunity to look at the sketch before it's painted. We don't paint anything that people don't approve of. And then we move forward the process at that point. But there's plenty of opportunity for the residents to definitely meet with the artist and to talk with the artist.
Good.
And I'll send you, Commissioner Woods, I'll send you written information with FAQs and steps along the process that you can share as well.
Oh, that'd be great. I've been saying the exact same thing to people. Just wanted to confirm that I was done on the right.
Great.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Lyons.
Thank you.
Oh, there you are. Hi, Kristen.
Hi. How's everyone?
Good.
This is our busy spring event time. So I am really pleased to tell you all about some of the programming that is wrapping up this week, and then some upcoming events. So the second annual Adams Morgan Art Walk that we sponsored with DC Art Center It started in early April, and that will be wrapping up this Friday or this weekend. So the artists will be taking down their art, and any art that was sold will be delivered to people who purchased it. So if you haven't taken a look at it, please do before Friday, because I think it will all come down this weekend. And they're planning a closing reception for that, but I don't have the details on that quite yet. With the artists and with the businesses. So that'll be a great opportunity, I think. Let's see, the spring drag queen story time with DCPL was a huge hit. We did the first one at the end of April. It was April 24th. I missed it, but I heard that there was about 45 kids that came with their parents. So that's a great start. And this will be the last Sunday of every month now from May through October. So and if there's rain, we're not going to cancel it. We're just going to move it into the community center at the Line Hotel. Yeah, stay tuned for more on that. And we have a bubble machine now. So the kids really love the bubble machine. In fact, we ran out of bubbles, which might have been a good thing. So because they weren't paying attention to the story. So maybe we shut the bubble machine off early. We'll figure that out. So this is also small business. May is small business month. So there's going to be a lot of small business focused events and activities. You'll see all of that in our weekly newsletter that we're putting out. One of them is a scavenger hunt. CNHED, the Coalition for Nonprofit Housing and Economic Development, they are sponsoring the scavenger hunt to send people to business corridors around the city. So that's super fun, and you can win prizes. So we entered in 4 or 5 things for the scavenger hunt. So check that out. Bike to Work Day is coming up on Friday, May 20th. This is the regional event sponsored by COG, the Council on Governments. We have a pit stop in Unity Park. You probably have seen the banner that we put up on Sunday. And that our pit stop is from 7:30 to 9:30 in the morning. So if you are going to participate in Bike to Work Day, please sign up on the Bike to Work Day website. And when you sign up, you'll register for a specific pit stop. And if you sign up for our pit stop, you will come and get a free t-shirt from the Council on Governments. And then we're also going to have coffee and bagels and some bananas. We're going to do a raffle for some bike gear. So we're going to have, I think, 4 free bike helmets that we'll raffle off from City Bikes and other swag. We'll probably raffle off some Adams Morgan t-shirts and other stuff. City Bikes is going to be there for a bike clinic. So if you're having trouble with your bike and you want to have them take a look at it, they'll be there to help. There'll also be some bike ambassadors from WABA. So it's a really fun event, 7:30 to 9:30 on Friday, May 20th. So, and then if anybody wants to help out that morning with setup, cleanup, please let me know, because we could always use an extra hand. It's early, but John Satoli, who's a former ANC commissioner, he loves this event. So I usually wake him up on my way in, and he joins us, and he's a real trooper. So, and then movie nights. So our exciting spring movies are back at their regular schedule. So May 24th, they will kick off. They run through June 21st. They're all on Tuesday nights at the Marie Reed soccer field. The movies start about a half an hour after sunset because we have to wait for the sky to get dark enough so you can see the screen. June 28th is the rain date. This year, the films are the theme is quest or journey. The first movie is Princess Bride. May 31st is Monty Python and the Holy Grail. June 7th is Queen of the Capitol, which is a local movie and we're going to have the producer and the drag queen that's featured in that. We're going to have a little Q&A with them before the movie. That's during Pride Week, June 7th. June 14th is Keanu. June 21st is Encanto. That's the movie that's kind of geared more towards the younger audience. We try to schedule that right after school is out so that staying up a little bit later is not as big a deal for kids and parents. we have a number of sponsors this year. Wegmans came in as a sponsor, so we'll have some free bottled water for people. Gifted Curators is sponsoring free popcorn, so you'll be able to get a free bag of popcorn when you arrive. They're going to be popping it there. And Insomnia Cookies will have 250 free cookies for us for each movie also. So please come early and get some snacks. And the businesses are also doing brown bag movie deals. So you can stop and pick up dinner beforehand and bring it down to the field. So there's lots going on. Let me just check my notes here. So I'll mention, Megan, I think David Levy probably sent you an email today about the first pedestrian zone. So as I think most of you know, we got a grant from the Office of Planning to do pedestrian zone activations. Hopefully we're going to try to do this once a month. And the first one we're aiming for June 10th through the 12th. So we would close 18th Street between Calorama and Columbia Road. Initially, we're going to have to use dump trucks because the bollard system will not be installed by then. So the street would close from about 5 p.m. to midnight on Friday night, and then Saturday from 10 a.m. to midnight, and Sunday 10 a.m. to midnight. And we're going to do some pop-up entertainment. We can't set up anything in the roadway because of the 20-foot fire lane. In the streeteries, there's not enough room to do anything else and still maintain that 20-foot fire lane. So there'll be pop-up entertainers, jugglers, stilt walkers, that kind of thing, and probably a dance academy too. So all of the entertainment will be interactive, but easily, they can easily move out of the way if an emergency vehicle needs to get through. So so we'll be happy to share more at the PCT committee later this month, but it's really exciting to finally being able to do this. So, and I'm happy to take questions.
Thanks, Kristen. Lots of great things. I'm excited for the street closers. Glad it's moving along. Are there any questions or discussion points from commissioners? Are there any questions from attendees? Okay, well, thanks, Kristen.
Jake has his hand up.
There you go. Just saw it.
Sorry, it always takes a second to put it up. I thank you. I'm so excited about the pedestrian only zone. This is really fantastic. I'm excited to learn more details. Is there anything else that the community should know about that for, just kind of leading into June and kind of thinking about what this might mean for everyone?
DDOT asked us to do a traffic analysis. We've hired Wells and Associates. We should get that report by May 27th, I think. May 27th, that's due. And then we're also going to have them, that's more to look at the impact of the changes to Wyoming and Calorama that will be coming in the next year or so. So this was, there was a traffic analysis done in 2019, I think before the pandemic. And so DDOT really wanted to do one, now. So we've included that in the grant. We reworked the budget a bit to pay for that. So I'm happy to share that with the ANC. In fact, we can schedule a time for Wells and Associates to come to the ANC and report back on that after we get the study back from them. And they're also going to do sorry, hang on, let me just check my notes. It's the end of the day and I'm tired. I've had a full day of meetings. The traffic control plan, sorry. So Wells and Associates is also going to develop the traffic control plan, which we'll need to give to DDOT before the first pedestrian closure. So we will have that. So yeah, the first closure will be dump trucks, and through the working group, Fiona and Howard and Megan have been part of the working group, and we've been working through a variety of issues. One of them is rerouting the 90 and the 96 buses. I think we've come up with a workable reroute. It's not ideal. But there is a plan now on how to do that, and there will be signage at the temporary bus stops as well as at the bus stops that won't be used. So, and we're going to help WMATA, with that signage. So, yeah, so that's a few things that I think folks would be interested in. Yeah.
It's great. Thank you so much, and very excited about this launching.
Yeah, we are too.
Okay, thank you again. And looking forward to all these activities. Next on our agenda is the consent agenda. The consent agenda has the draft meeting minutes from last month. All those in favor of passing the consent agenda, please say aye.
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 Are there any nays? Any abstentions? Thank you. On to our regular agenda. The regular agenda is going to be planning and zoning and transportation only. And we're going to consider a BZA application, case number 20735 from 2920 18th Street first. Commissioner Faulkner, could you introduce that, please?
Yes, so I'll just briefly note that this is a BZA application related to constructing a rear deck. If you are here to present this, please raise your hand so Gordon can promote you. And I'll just note that we voted this out of committee 3-0 to recommend the ANC support it. And obviously we'll have time for questions after a brief presentation.
Thank you and welcome. If you guys want to share your screen, or we do have in the agenda, the case is linked, but if you have it up, you can share it, or just give us more information, please. Thank you.
Their architect just popped in. So
Yeah, I was just
okay. Thank you so much. Okay, great.
Hi, commissioners. My name is Eric DeBear, Land Use Counsel for the Radomskis from Cozen O'Connor. I do have a brief presentation to give. While I'm pulling it up, I will let Matt and Aaron introduce themselves and talk a little bit about their project.
Hi, I'm Aaron. This is my husband, Matt. We bought our home in early 2020 with the intention of growing our family and really putting roots down here in the neighborhood. We have a 3-year-old corgi and a now 11-month-old daughter. And we have asked for this variance to build a rear deck to have some private outdoor space for her, and especially with COVID, a safe private outdoor space, because as you know, she's 11 months, she can't be vaccinated yet, and we don't know when that's coming. So just really to expand our living space to be a safe outdoor area for her.
Yeah, that's
Thank
it.
you, guys. Thanks, guys. So I just want to give a brief presentation. Matt and Aaron live at 2920 18th Street in just south of Quarry Road. As Aaron mentioned, just a few images of the front and the back of the home. As Aaron mentioned, the proposal would be a new deck, and it would be located with access to the main floor of the home. Matt and Aaron are in the bottom unit, so it would be the cellar level and that main level as well. You can see that currently there are 2 parking spaces in the rear of the property, and part of the positive aspect of this is that they can both recapture additional outdoor usable spaces, as just mentioned, but also to maintain those 2 parking spaces. And you can see looking up the alley, there are several homes, including the 2 directly adjacent to theirs, that have existing decks. This is the proposal that's been submitted to DCRA. Just a little background on the zoning specific request. The existing home has a lot occupancy of a little over 57%. What's permitted in the RF1 zone is 60%, as many of you commissioners may be familiar with. And with the deck, the Radomskis are proposing to go up to the 70% special exception limit. So the deck would project approximately 12 feet from the rear of the home for the entire width of the property. So in addition to the lot occupancy relief, they would also be reducing the required rear yard from 20 feet to approximately 8 feet. And so you have the rear elevation there. As you can see, the deck would be open to light and air on the lowest level. It would provide, or it would be accessible directly from the main floor of the Radomski's home as well. Now you can see a section drawing here looking south down the alley, and then a rear elevation as well. And so, as I mentioned, the Radomskis have filed a BZA application. They are scheduled for a hearing in June. We did present to the zoning subcommittee a couple weeks ago and obtained their approval. I'm happy to walk further through the special exception standard if need be, although I won't belabor it at this point. But I will say that they have connected directly with several neighbors and do have 3 letters of support in the BZA record, and thus far, no opposition. So, they're very excited about this proposal. And again, we're happy to answer any questions the commissioners might have.
Thank you, and thanks for the information. I have one quick question. The 12 feet that it extends back, it doesn't hinder any traffic, like the turning radius for from the parking area of the alley into the ingress egress of the alley. There's that wouldn't hinder it at all.
That's a good question. So the alley actually is, I'll just show on the zoning map. So Matt and Aaron can talk about how they might maneuver into that parking space, but it is the alley. You can't see it in the zoning map, but it does connect down to, I am forgetting the street name that's to the south of you guys. Summit. And so it does connect there. So there is two-way access. Now, the portion that enters from 18th Street closer to Quarry is 10 feet, and it actually widens to 25 feet here at the notch, and then settles in at 15 feet along the rear of their property. So certainly for in terms of accessing the rear of the Radomski home, there'll be no problem. I know that the other condo member in their home has issued a letter of support, so I'd take it and they can confirm that there's no issues there either.
That's correct. It won't prevent anything in the alley. It'll all be within our parking spaces where the support beams will be.
Yeah, and just one thing to add, there's already a beam divider between our alleyway and—
I think it's in the photo.
Yeah, Eric, if you scroll down to the photo of the rear, you should—
Go down one more. No, it's right here. Right there.
Here.
Yeah. So it'll be within that.
It'll be within that length. So the support beams for the deck will not extend further into any space further than these posts.
Sure. Yeah, no, I was just asking because I didn't know what goes on in the alley. So if it was
of course.
a big moving truck or whatever, but you guys have obviously done the research and you live there. So thank you so much. Are there any other questions from commissioners? And any questions from participants? Doesn't look that way. So at the end of the presentation, end of discussion, we can vote on supporting this, these two exemptions. So all those in favor of supporting the exemption, please say aye.
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 Okay, any nays? Any abstentions? Okay, great. Well, it sounds like we have a unanimous vote in support of that. Thank you so much for your presentation, and good luck getting this all taken care of.
Thank you so much,
commissioners.
for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is the building permit. Commissioner Faulkner, would you mind introducing this also, please?
Yes, so this is for 2001 18th Street, which is the Imperial, right at the intersection of 18th and Florida and U. And it is, so this is a little different from some of the things we review. It is a building permit, but because there's no sort of BZA or zoning exception, it's a building permit for a roof, covered roof structure, and a vestibule. But because the building is in a historic district, and I believe is also a historic building itself, it needs historic preservation. The Historic Preservation Review Board also needs to approve it. So there's nothing non-conforming in the zoning code about this, and I'm sure the applicant can talk more, but I just wanted to clarify, since this is, we don't usually weigh in on just regular building permits, but because it has to go to the Historic Preservation Review Board, that's why we are weighing in. They've asked for our support for this. And so we had a presentation in the PZT meeting in April, and just like the last item, we voted 3-0 to recommend the commission support it. And I think if you're here to present, I believe William Thomas is here from the Imperial, and if anyone else, please go ahead and raise your hand if you're here to present to the ANC.
Hi, everyone. My name's Chris. Yeah, so I am the permit applicant for this building permit. I represent the contractor who would do the installing should the permit be approved. So let me share my screen. All right, so I'll give just a quick little overview of the project. So this is the proposed building. It's a pergola. It's an aluminum pergola, motorized, and it would be covering an existing rooftop dining area. So yeah, we had support for the so there was a non-conforming setback technically on 18th Street here. This is the location of where the pergola would be on this upper terrace. And the setback to the street here was, I'm not sure exactly what the number was in feet. But yeah, currently the historic does not support this design, but we're looking to change their minds, and we're hoping ANC support will help change their minds. So the design, let me go. The design was we tried to keep it as minimal impact on the sight line on the building as much as possible. It's designed to cover the rain and give a little bit more use to this rooftop dining area, help out the business, and all that kind of stuff. While being as minimally intrusive as possible. Instead of big umbrellas, we just have some sleek aluminum beams going across. The color was designed to match the building to help it blend in as much as possible. There will be some recessed LED lights here and some fans. All of the cables are routed internally through the beams, again, being as minimally impactful as possible. We have support from the direct neighbors. I'll turn it over to the owners, Bill and Steve, who are here in a minute to talk a little bit more about some other things to add onto this. But it's not very visible from most of there's only a few residential properties in the area who likely won't be able to see the project very much at all. The only place where it will be mainly visible is from the street, from down below on 18th Street and across the street from 18th. But like I said, we tried to keep it as minimally impactful as possible. And we feel as if it would add more value to the neighborhood overall than it would detract the sight line in any way. But so that is the main aspect of the building permit is the pergola itself. There is a secondary aspect of the design that we'd like to talk about as well. We have these screens that can be mounted on the posts here and sort of drop down, and they would help to block a lot of the wind if there's a lot of wind that comes through. Any rain that might come in at an angle, it would help block the area for the patrons there. It would stay up whenever the business is closed. So again, keeping in line with that minimal impact when as much as possible. So I have a quick rendering of this is what it would look like with the screens. I think the photos should be available, the renderings of what it would look like without the screens. So they just sort of drop down and add like that. So that's something that is part of the design that's being considered. But the main topic, I guess, for the agenda is the structure, the pergola itself. You can do the pergola without the screens as well. So yeah, that's a general overview of the project. And I'll turn it over to Bill and Steve.
Who wants to go first, Bill?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, yes, this system that we're kind of putting in place is to replace the tent that we currently have on the roof. Post-COVID or through COVID, outside dining became a key element, and we've just kind of like latched on to understanding that's part of how the business needs to go forward. We've kind of transformed that floor into a full dining room. We've tried two different styles of coverage. One just as a sail that was easily put up and put down, that really was just more for sunlight. And then obviously that didn't quite work as well as far as for dining purposes. We transitioned or pivoted to more of the hurricane style umbrella, the large rectangular style umbrellas. Those also kind of ineffective when it comes to that corner and the wind and the rain. It really didn't support dining. So any inclement weather certainly closed that environment. When we were in the midst of COVID and needed to transition to having that as the only space available for dining, we opted for a tent. But again, we're still trying to maintain our guest experience. So a tent really takes away from being on that corner, seeing the neighborhood, seeing the lines of the city. And this seemed like the best next option to allow when it's a great city night or a very temperate day. We do brunch service now as well. That's one of our more sought after spots for brunch. And the Louverou system will allow guest experience to be at a maximum. The screens, are something that are just a component of that structure that would allow dining to happen no matter what the elements may be. The fans, being built in versus the fans that we have currently that are seated on the actual the floor of the space. Obviously, it takes up room for customers. Them being mounted, just a better way to, again, maximize customer experience and allow that space to kind of exist as the 28-seat space that we like it to be. And that's basically, kind of what we're targeting. The structure itself is kind of a skeleton framework. So it really prongs down, and we have a 4-foot parapet wall on the 18th Street side. So you're going to have about 8 feet exposure of 4 columns with the top line of the structure itself. So, even that impact is very minimal on your street perspective. We're not really surrounded by residences. Maybe going north on 18th at northwest position, you would have a high rise that would see at some point in the winter the structure. But for the most part, it's about as invisible as we can make it, say, versus umbrellas or versus the tent itself that we have currently. So, this is kind of like design is very important to us. Guest satisfaction, obviously, the ability to stay open and maintain dining. We have a cellar level that's not been in use more or less since COVID. So it's been dormant for about 2 years. So this has become more of our bread and butter environment for dining and for guests. So we're just doing everything we can to kind of maximize the location and the concepts of what we want to achieve as a restaurant. So that's the whole purpose, the whole driving force behind this. What do you got, Bill?
Yeah.
I mean, Steve did a good job articulating the multiple styles of roof covering that we tried for solutions to get us by. Obviously, we spent a lot of money on experimentation that went nowhere, and ultimately the 10 is just not that visibly pleasing, nor is it as effective as we'd like it to be, versatile as we'd like it to be for kind of capturing that beautiful space. And as you can see from the Imperial, we spent four and a half years building that place. And, I think we did a pretty good job making it look pretty stunning. And, it's been a long haul now. It's been, essentially 6.5 years of essentially rebuilding that corner and seeing $0. So it'd be nice to get to a point where we could kind of level off and, just break even would be nice. So that's what we're struggling with right now. And obviously outdoor dining has become absolutely necessary for the future. So that's what brings us here today.
Thank you for that. Commissioner Balaki, you have a question? Commissioner, yep, there you go. Commissioner, still muted.
I've lost my video.
So we just heard you. So
let me just go ahead and talk. If you got me, I'll give up on the picture for a second. I was just going to mention in the PZT committee meeting last month, I mentioned that I put this on a couple of Facebook pages that folks on Wyoming Street and California Street respond to. I got about a 50% viewer rate on my little postings and had a total of 3 positive comments. No negative comments. I know of no opposition to this within my district, and I personally support it and would be happy to vote in favor of doing something with the historic preservation folks to let them know that fact. So thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Valaskini.
Thank you, Chair Clem. This is my SMD, and I just wanted to say that I'm in full support. Really appreciate the business and the owners, the work that they do for our community. I see very little negative impact from this and positive impact for a fantastic member of our community. So I'm in full support.
Right. If there's no other questions or discussions from the commissioners, are there any questions from the attendees? All right, great. Thank you so much for your presentation. We'll now vote on this consideration of the building permit and HPRB application for Imperial at 2001 18th Street. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Thank you. That motion passes 7-0. Thank you for your time and good luck.
Can I say,
Great.
can I say
Oh,
thank
yes.
you? Thank you all very much. And also, can we receive a letter, or will this be forwarded on to the historic board? So we have some sort of, not that they wouldn't take our word for it, but I just want to make sure.
I will write a letter and I will send it to you and the board.
Okay,
That's
thank you
awesome.
very much.
We
All
fully
right.
appreciate it. Thank you all very much.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Take care.
Bye.
The next consideration on the agenda is a discussion on a resolution written by Commissioner Wood. Could you introduce this, please, Commissioner?
Of course. So here's a link. Commissioners have had that link before, same one, but for the community to have it. So basically, been working on this last month-ish, in the last few weeks, gotten help from multiple commissioners as well as some others in the community, in anticipation of what was unfortunately even more premature than expected, which is quite a bit of tension and pressure on local governments of different scales to react to what might happen in the Supreme Court in the next couple of months. So this is a resolution which really three main points, citing three pieces of legislation from different areas. One that's a proposed bill in DC's council. There's another that has been going through the House of the state of Connecticut, and then one that's US Congress. So kind of looking at three different angles of ways to say, hey, DC council, mayor, attorney general, whoever else might be relevant to any particular point. As an ANC, we would like to push you to make it so it's clear that DC is a safe place for anyone who wants an abortion to get it here. And that includes things like being able to pay for it, being able to get to places where that's performed. There's a few points. I cited a lot, so there's a lot of research, but it's really just that core argument of trying to just urge what some people in DC government are already doing, but just trying to make sure that there's a lot of ANC support behind it. I've been in touch with, I think, at least one ANC in every ward, I think some in multiple wards, saying that we were potentially going to consider this and that we would like to, it would be a good idea if anyone's interested in taking the measure up at their ANCs to have a unified front. There's been good feedback. So I think that, I mean, of course, it's open to discussion and I don't want to do anything that would be rushed, but I do think that it was clear in terms of the language and it's not particularly, well, I dare to say controversial, because of course it's a controversial issue for many, but in terms of just like the direct local impact, we're not asking for, there's nothing zoning related, there's nothing liquor license related. It's more of a general DC government. We urge you to do what you're basically already doing and pushing it further. So on that note, I think that it might make sense to vote on this issue tonight. We discussed this internally, just because I think that I know that a lot of ANCs are looking for our direction to make sure that we try to get as similar language across the board as possible so that we don't have multiple people across the city saying different things. So open to questions if anyone has comments, anything like that. Very much thankful for Commissioner Faulkner, Commissioner Balke, Commissioner Falskini, Commissioner Boots, who were very helpful, and some residents in the community that I approached and that approached me. I really wanted to make sure that there were people who, one, can get pregnant, and two, have experience working in this area of legislation. So thankfully that all came together. Got a lot of people on board to make sure that it was clean, crisp, made sense, good argument, and I like what turned out.
Thank you. Commissioner Falaskini.
Sorry, again. Thank you, Chair Clem. I at first had pushed that we actually consider this in June. But I think the events coming out of the Supreme Court this last week have actually changed my mind on that. I think the urgency of this is exceptionally clear. The leaked opinion from Justice Alito that all reporting says currently has the support of 5 justices is awful. It is disgustingly ahistoric. It is, in my mind, a terrible rewrite of our history, and of the issues that so many members of our community face. And so I really have kind of turned a corner on that, and I do feel like this is very timely. And I really appreciate all the work that Commissioner Wood did to include, especially the language from the Connecticut statute that protects would protect DC residents and those visiting from the vigilantism that has been supported by states like Texas and that other states are considering. And so I really appreciate the overall language. It also just recognized that our Councilmember Nadeau is a leader on this issue. And I appreciate her work on this. And so I want to make sure that as she's pushing forward this legislation over the next couple of months, that she has support from the community as well. So I will be supporting this and voting in favor tonight if there's a vote.
Commissioner Wood.
Yeah, and just to that point, I mean, I was definitely open to pushing as well. I mean, I think that we've made the case for why either way can make sense. There's a big opportunity of, like, at the core of this, beyond the urgency of just human lives being at stake. There's also the question of DC statehood and states' rights. So this kind of all links into things that we've already advocated in a lot of ways. And just when we put into that discussion just the role of us hyper-local governments, it's, I think, a really important opportunity to make sure we're really on time with, to make sure that we have, we do the thing that we take advantage of the system in place, which is we have a really unique form of governance in DC through the ANC system. And it's ironic that this is the thing that's really easy in DC to get people to get together on. I've lived in places where that would very much not be the case. And I know others on this commission can speak to that as well. So yeah, really, again, appreciate all of the work in this. I mean, we say it all the time, but it's hard to get good work done by ourselves. So just teamwork really does it.
Commissioner Bollicky.
Oh, thank you so much. And I just want to take a moment, because I've been involved in these earlier discussions, to associate myself with Commissioner Falascini's comments about the Alito draft and about Commissioner Nadeau's good work. I just looked over the updated version. I like the additions. I think it's very well done. I'm delighted to fully support this tonight. Just as I mentioned in our earlier conversations, I think the ANCs can be very impactful here if on when you have all the meetings on the 1st of June, this probably will not be finalized from the court. And if you've got like 25 ANCs across the district with at least one or two from each ward, and then we have some of our friends in the advocacy community tell the world about that, I think it is impactful, and I hope we're able to pull it off. And so if this is the first step, I'm all for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from commissioners? Commissioner Faulkner.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Commissioner Wood for leading on this and working on this draft. One thing I guess I noticed, and now I can't remember, I did review a draft of this earlier, but I know it has changed. But there is a mention in one of the resolved clauses of urging the DC Council and the mayor pass law and sign into law full Medicaid funding of abortion and other reproductive health services. I wonder, because we are, as I think actually Commissioner Bollicky mentioned at one of our meetings recently, and something I am very familiar with, and I've volunteered with the DC Abortion Fund in the past, which in part exists because of the Dornan Amendment, which Congress, prohibits DC from using local funding on that. And I know the DC Council would love to use our local Medicaid dollars on that. So I wonder if it makes sense to add some sort of clause or something sort of noting that we know that there's the amendment, but maybe we think the council should pass it anyway, and even though they include a rider. Or I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know if the lawyers on the commission have thoughts on that, but I wonder if there's a way to make that clear that we support we would like that, but we're aware that it is not solely within the council's power.
Commissioner Faulkner, so are you proposing, would that be a friendly amendment? Like, would it be an addition? Would it be a change to the wording?
Yeah, I think just a change to the wording of some sort. But I am not sure what the right wording would be. I'm willing to, but yeah, just sort of to clarify, Medicaid, notwithstanding the Dornan amendment or something, to just make it clear that we're aware that we're asking the council to do something that they kind of can't do on their own, if that makes sense. They can't do this and make it happen tomorrow because of Congress and, our lack of statehood.
Okay, thanks. Commissioner Wood?
Yeah, I mean, if that's a friendly amendment, except that we can work just to this very minor tweaking of that language. I think that's a good idea. And to the point also, that was the two things that were added after you reviewed it were on the email chain that we were on, that were suggestions from Commissioners Balaki and Falaskini. So everyone's been exposed to that, so that I should have pointed that out. But besides that, it's just a couple of tweaks of language that a committee member suggested, but it's the same thing. So yeah, thanks. Accepted.
So to clarify, do you want to type that in the resolution now, or are you just saying that the friendly amendment would be something to clarify what Commissioner Faulkner said? So it would be friendly, it wouldn't really be changing any part of the resolution.
I'll accept it just in that spirit of just basically want to get the right citation. So I won't do it this very second, but to say this language, although we're acknowledging that these restrictions are in place, but considering that we still think it's worthwhile pushing forward, just more succinct. Okay. It's already there, just to add a citation.
Okay, thanks. Commissioner Balaki, you have your hand raised. Is that a new question or comment?
I'm just looking at what Jake is typing here. DORNAN for Congressman Robert Dornan. And what he did was he applied the Hyde Amendment restrictions that apply nationally to DC's own ability to spend its own money on Medicaid abortions.
All right, thank you.
You say notwithstanding the amendment? Yeah.
I'm sorry, say that again, please, Commissioner Balaki.
Just say notwithstanding the federal Dornan amendment, that'll cover the waterfront on this and make clear what you're referring to. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other points of discussion or questions about this resolution? Are there any questions or comments from the attendees? Okay, with that, Commissioner Wood, Commissioner Wood, go ahead.
I would move to a vote. Can I get a second?
Second.
It's on the agenda, so yes, absolutely. We were just about to vote on it because it's on the agenda. Thank you. So all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I hear one aye. I don't hear all.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any nays? We're voting. Okay, I see. Thank you, Commissioner Falaskini. All right. Any abstentions? Okay, great. So this passes. All right. Thank you for your work on this, Commissioner Wood. And with that, our agenda has ended, and the commission and the ANC 1C meeting is over. Thank you.